Here's what happens to people who attack the children of God. And I mean the Christian God, by the way, Jesus Christ, no other God or goddess. First of all, his word says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm, meaning stay away from mine. God is a God of his word, and I've seen with my own eyes exactly how it plays out when somebody tries something on a child of God. First of all, God will give them a nudge. Before they start it, before they attempt it, he will give them a nudge not to do it. Most of the time, they ignore it. Sometimes they don't. If they choose to ignore it, here's what continues. So the devil himself and his little minions will be quite literally prompting this person to attack a child of God. We know that. So God will then hand them over to the devil. He's already tried to warn them. They said, no, okay, now you're playing in the devil's kingdom. He'll allow that person to think they're winning for a little while because the verse says pride comes before the fall. So he'll let them run their mouth. He'll make them think that they're winning. They're tearing you down. Maybe they've got a little group. He'll let them build up this pride and arrogance about it. At this stage, that person should be feeling some conviction for what they're doing to that child of God. If they don't, they'll continue. If they do, they'll repent and they'll stop. During this time of attack, God will be teaching his child, stand firm, don't react, because his word says, vengeance is mine. Don't do anything. Pray for your enemy, right? So they continue, and it's very relentless. If you've ever been under a demonic attack from a person, you know that it's like they live, breathe, and sleep this attack, yeah? God lets them, and he sees if you can withstand it, if you can trust that he's going to take care of it, right? And he does. What will start to happen is the truth will start to unfold bit by bit. So the person who's made the attack will start slipping up. It says in the Bible, they will fall into the pit they dig for you. And that's exactly what happens. So when they make an attack thinking it's going to harm you, it ends up being the very thing that they fall into themselves. It's never a private humiliation when it comes to God. It's almost very public. You know, when they make that attack on a child of God, God will publicly turn it around, humiliating that person. Remember, they chose to do the devil's work in that attack. So now the devil's running the show. The devil has authority. What does the devil come to do? Steal, kill, and destroy. And that includes the person doing the attacking. So God hands them over to the devil. Then they've given the enemy a legal right to attack them because you're doing the devil's work. Now he's allowed to attack you. And that's when all the attacks on their finances start happening. Their health starts to suffer. The family starts to dissipate. It is truly hard to watch, actually, because a lot of the time it is God's grace that is keeping the enemy away from people. But when they choose to touch an anointed or do a prophet harm, they're going to get what's coming to them. Eventually, they will be pushed to such a low, they will be forced to repent for what they've done and apologize. If they don't, it just unfolds and unfolds and unfolds even more destruction. So if somebody wants to attack a child of God, they have to be prepared. They're starting war with God, not that person. And I've seen this play out many a time. It never goes the way that person thinks it's going to go. For a hot minute there, God will let them think they're winning, and then he'll pull the whole rug out underneath them.
Let this be I guess not a lesson, but let this be an encouragement to any of you Christians that are under attack from someone externally, whether someone's come against you with witchcraft or spiritual warfare of any kind. Let this be encouragement to you that God will not let it go unpunished. We serve a just God. He is a God of faithfulness. He is a God of righteousness. He is a God of justice. And so if you're someone out here that's doing witchcraft or attacking a Christian, even if the Lord's telling you to stop and you ignore that conviction, then obviously you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because the enemy, even though people feel like Satan loves them, or since they've pledged their allegiance to the devil, that he's on their side, he's not on your side. Trust me, he's not. And just because you are allowed to do these things against a Christian doesn't mean that there won't be consequences. It doesn't mean that Satan will not turn against you, because he will. What we do see quite a bit is that these people are being used by Satan so he doesn't attack them in ways that they see are attacks. But since they follow Satan, when attacks do come, they place the blame on God. As Jess said here, people will start to have bad health. Their finances will be attacked. In numerous different ways, they'll find that they're being under attack. But instead of attributing that to Satan, they're going to be like, oh, well, see, I knew that's why I didn't want to serve God, or I knew that's why I didn't want to be a Christian, because here I am, my finances are being hit. If God's so good, why isn't he giving me a better paying job? If God's so good, why are little children being hurt? And we got to realize, guys, that Satan's agenda is to use people to do these harmful, hurtful, disgusting, vile things against one another. And if you choose to serve Satan, you too are going to be used by him to do something heinous to someone else. I remember when I was strung out on drugs, I was being used by Satan. And what I did was I would go rob people for drug money to get high. Innocent people, unbeknownst to them, that I was getting ready to attack them. I was getting ready to rob them. I was getting ready to strong arm them out of something that belonged to them. Or I would come to sell somebody some drugs and I would rip them off. I would sell them fake stuff, or I would just take their money and not give them the drugs. I was being used by the devil, even though these people, they weren't children of God. You know, if you're buying drugs, you probably don't walk with the Lord. But ultimately, I was being used by Satan to ruin people's lives. And I was doing this every day in and day out. And ultimately, I got locked up for it, because you can't just keep on going out here doing evil, being used by Satan, and there's not consequence. Right. So thankfully, that's where I met Jesus at. I met Jesus in prison. But when it all boils down to it, guys, you cannot come against a child of God, for it's just not a permanent thing. You can't do this indefinitely and there not be any consequence. Even with Job, when God gave Satan permission to test Job, there was a time limit on that, and there was only so far that he could go with it. He couldn't kill Job, but he could do everything else in the world to him. And Satan did. Satan did a lot of vile things to him. He killed his family, took his wealth, killed his livestock, and still he caused sickness to come upon Job, all under the permission of God. And Job never cursed God and never turned away from him. So many people out here have way less happen, and they turn away from God and they blame everything on God, when ultimately it's a spiritual attack. You are being attacked by the devil. You're being attacked by the devil, or in a situation like Job, you're being tested by God through the devil. Regardless of what the circumstance is, if you are coming against the child of God, you cannot do it indefinitely. The Lord will not sit by idly and let someone just be tortured indefinitely, unless that's their calling, unless that's their purpose. Because we did see in the Bible where men died for the faith, right? And that was so they could be a martyr for the faith. And so that we, as readers of the word, we could see that maybe, just maybe, we will face hardships and have to die for our faith. We're seeing Christians die worldwide right now for their faith. And maybe you're one of those people that are destined to die for the faith. And maybe, just maybe, you're under attack by some witchcraft or some type of evil person out here being used by Satan. And so take heart. Pray for those who persecute you. I know it's hard to do, but the Bible tells us to do that. The Bible tells us to forgive and pray for our enemies. In those moments that you're under attack, that's the last thing you want to do, is to pray for someone that's persecuting you, or to pray for someone that's hating on you or causing you some type of turmoil in your life. You just want to live in peace. You just want them to leave you alone. But ultimately, you're going to have to pray for that person. And if it's in the Lord's will, you will be delivered from that. But Jess shared some very powerful verses on the screen here, and I pray that you pause and read those. But ultimately, we know that whatever God allows for us to go through, there's a purpose for it, and there's a reason for it. But also, just because we're going through something doesn't mean that God's to blame. We have to realize we have a very real enemy out here that uses people to hurt people. And so pray for the people that are hurting you. And if you're a child of God that's under this type of attack, lean on the Lord, because he's the only one that's going to be able to deliver you from it. So I'll leave this video linked in the description. Her name is Jess from Craft to Christ. She's on YouTube and on TikTok in case you don't know who she is. And I'll share the link in the video credit link in the description, guys. That's going to do it for this one, though. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.